It is, what, 6:34 on June 23rd. And I'd like to call to order this strategic planning session, work session of the Shenandoah County School Board. Do we have a motion to meet in closed session, to convene in closed session?
You want to mention that Mike's not here?
Yeah, we'll do that too. Actually, I need, yeah, we'll do that. So Mr. Rickard won't be here tonight. So the other 5 members are here. And we don't anticipate him to be here, so it'll be throughout the evening. So, and Dr. Shepard, do you have a recommended action for our closed session meeting?
I do. I recommend that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7 and pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code 2.2-3711A29 to discuss the award of a public contract involving the expenditures of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to that effect?
I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7 and pursuant to the provisions of 1 Virginia Code 2.2-3711 A29 to discuss the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, or discussion in an open session where it would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. So all in favor of convening in closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Before we do convene there, I want to remind the board that we'll come back after we come back in open session, we will once again, after we've had our last action items, reconvene for a second closed session this evening. So we're going to bookend our open session. So we'll meet now in closed session. Don't want my contraption killing you. to reconvene in open session. It's 6:57, and I'd like to ask for a motion to reconvene in open session.
Move to reconvene in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Cuttshaw. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vance. All in favor of meeting in open session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. I reiterate that tonight Mr. Rickard is not with us. The other 5 members are here. Before we go any further, I'd like to read the following statement relating to the closed meeting. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, I so certify when called. And Cheryl, would you call the roll call?
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlinia,
I so certify.
Mr. Henshaw,
I so certify.
Mr. Vance,
I so certify.
and Mr. Barnes.
I so certify. The agenda has been sent out. We have perused it, reviewed it. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda as it has been presented?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. Motion made by Mr. Cuttshaw. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? So we're going to move into our planning, strategic planning work session, and we're going to turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you. So we always start our strategic planning meeting with our 5 division goals: academic achievement and growth, positive school climate and culture, family engagement and community connections, recruit, support, and retain enthusiastic professionals, and the last one is high quality and adequate facilities. So tonight you will hear how we fared on these 5 items throughout the year. Just understand that we have preliminary data results. They haven't been finalized yet. We likely won't get final results until September, October, but we are presenting all of the information that we currently have. And as we're considering our strategic plan, we had some feedback from Deborah Wallstrom, who is connected with the School Board Member Alliance group, and she gave us some additional indicators that we'll want to consider in the future whenever we get our data back from September and October. And she has also indicated that she would like to work with us to update our strategic plan as we move forward. So just wanted to mention Deb Wallstrom and her accessibility and availability. So academic achievement and growth. So this school year, 24-25, our school accreditation changed from accreditation to accountability. So it's going to look different, and as we go through the slides, you'll see how that looks different. But you can see at the elementary and middle school level, we're looking at growth, readiness, and mastery. At the high school level, we're looking at graduation, readiness, and mastery, which is different than it was the previous school year, because we were looking at English, math, chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, dropout rate, and all other kinds of factors. So it's changed a little bit, and the information that you will see in the following slides will help you understand the new accountability framework. So this slide actually details what each category counts. So at the elementary school, you'll see that mastery is 65% of the total for the accountability. Growth, which includes growth in reading and math, is 25%, and readiness is 10%. And readiness for this particular school year is chronic absenteeism. How many days did our students miss school? And then middle school, you'll see that mastery is 60%, so a little less than elementary school. Growth is 20%, again, a little less than elementary school. And then readiness is 20%. So those, the two things that are combined for that is chronic absenteeism and advanced coursework for middle school students. And then mastery at our high school level is 50%, graduation is 15%, and then readiness is 35%. And readiness for our high schools include chronic absenteeism, and 3 E's, which is the biggest portion of that. That's 25% of the readiness part, and that is enrollment, employment, or enlistment. What are our students doing after they leave school?
So, Dr. Shepard, whenever we read readiness in these, we should assume that a subset of that is chronic absenteeism as a data point, right?
Absolutely, and as you see, I detail what it looked like this year, and then side by side with that, I show what it looks like, you know, this coming year. So for accountability, and then just more information. I just went over this just a minute ago, but additional information on what mastery, graduation, and readiness looks like, and the percentage points. So you'll see at the elementary school, reading growth is 12.5%, and math growth is 12.5%. And that is one of the things that we can't calculate at this point, because it is based on how the growth of students across the Commonwealth of Virginia. So it doesn't include just Shenandoah County growth; it's across the Commonwealth, and we don't have that information at this particular point. So.
I have a question. So for like readiness, for middle school, we have advanced coursework. Is that courses that every school offers, or are just like special
Yeah,
classes?
so for that particular one, it is Algebra 1 at the middle school level.
Okay, so it's okay.
And then you will notice that all of the categories have English learner proficiency. And if any of our schools have less than 15 students who are English learners, then that doesn't count. So what does that mean? That means that each of the other weights of the percentages go up a little bit to account for that 10%. And you'll actually see that example at Strasburg High School. So I will try to remember to point that out when we get to Strasburg High School. But let's go through one or two, and then if you have any questions, then would be a good time to ask. Distinguished. So the new accountability standards. Needs intensive support below 65 points. Off track is 65 to 79 points. On track is 80 to 89 points, and distinguished is 90 points and above. So this is just an example at the elementary level. So last year, to the left, so for this current year, our accreditation for this current year was based on the information you see at the left. You'll see academic achievement English, you'll see achievement gap, which is yellow English, academic achievement math, academic gap math, and then academic achievement science. And then over on the right is what the new accountability standards look like. And you will see for the elementary school that reading and math growth are blank, because we will not have that information until September or October. This is one of our actual schools. I don't remember which one it is, but you'll see 64.47. So I'm going to go back a slide so you can remember what those numbers are for on track. So 64.97 is about 15 points away from being on track. And you can see that growth is 25%. So they will likely meet on track. The likelihood that they'll be distinguished is slim.
Once upon a time, when the Youngkin administration came up with this new matrix, there was a lot of concern that it was kind of too fast. Too much to change in 1 year, and it was a concern about the pressure that put on teachers to do it kind of, somebody was described as like painting a moving train, something like that. Anyway, I don't mean to, well, I guess I do mean, I'm getting on omnibus questions. How well do we think that's worked this year? Have they been able to keep up with this kind of almost say complex, but it is a more complex system than we've had in the past.
Yeah, it is more complex, and the math and English standards both changed this year. So you're going to see at our elementary schools we maintained. At our middle and our high schools, sometimes we improved, but I think maintaining is a win because those curriculums changed pretty significantly from last year to this year. So we were able to maintain those numbers over, with the curriculum changing pretty significantly.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we need to realize it was a pretty hefty change in complexity, and therefore must be seen in some degree as a transition stage. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, so our next slide is going to be Ashbeely Elementary School, and you'll see, where they were 22-23, so that was last school year versus this school year. It looks different. However, you can see what their indicators are. So again, reading growth and math growth are not there. They still have the opportunity to make it to on track. It will depend on what they get in their reading and their math growth scores. But no longer, so you've heard us talk about chronic absenteeism, and I'm just going to use this one as an example. But you've heard us talk about chronic absenteeism and wanting our percentage to be less than 15%. Well, it doesn't matter anymore about the 15%. If you have 10 students who are chronically absent, you're not going to earn those 10 points for chronic absenteeism. It'll be 9.9 or 9.8 or 8.85. So it really is based on the number of students who are not chronically absent. However, like in reading growth, you can earn 1.25 points for growth above 1 standard deviation. So you can actually earn more than 25 points for that category if you have growth at your school level that's more than 1 standard deviation above the growth of the Commonwealth. So it's pretty complex math, but it'll be interesting to see when those growth scores come in, how well we fare. Sandy Hook Elementary School, you'll see they're at 64.47, and again, that growth score isn't there yet. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And at the end of the elementary schools, you'll see a chart that shows how well they did this year compared to last year. And then W.W. Robinson Elementary School. Anyone have any questions before I move on to the chart?
So that would mean they're not on track.
So currently, but if you add, if they get 25 growth points, they would be right in the middle of on track. Yes. Now, it depends on what their growth score is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we?
We have no, we don't know how to calculate it because it's based on the Commonwealth growth. Students across the Commonwealth, so there's no way we can calculate that. I wish we could, because I'm as anxious to know as anyone.
Yeah.
So here's our information based on a 3-year average, and you'll notice we maintained pretty much across the board. You'll notice science at Ashbeely Elementary School dipped a little, and at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And the note at the bottom, official data should be available in September, October. I think we received preliminary data last year. It was closer to October, November, but hopefully we'll get it sooner than that this year. So again, just a sample of our middle schools. You'll see that under the readiness index includes both chronic absenteeism and advanced coursework. And the growth score for this one is 20% or 20 points. So our first school is North Fork Middle School, and you will see that they are at 71.52 points, and their growth last year was 26 points. So they could very well be in distinguished. And I know it's above 20 points. However, you can earn 1.25 based on that one standard deviation above the growth of other students in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Peter Muhlenberg Middle School, 69.97. And Signal Knob Middle School, 67.17. And then the chart this year versus last year, and you will see North Fork English, even though the standards changed at English, they improved from last year. Math, they improved. Took a little dip in history, but then their science scores increased pretty significantly. And then the last category there is chronic absenteeism. Now, the chronic absenteeism numbers do not include the recovery. That information will not be available until later this summer. So I know North Fork in particular calculated their recovery for chronic absenteeism, and they think they will end the year at 5% of their students were chronically absent. Peter Muhlenberg, you'll look at the stair steps there over the last 3 years. They've made significant gains at Peter Muhlenberg over the last 3 years. So, and again, their chronic absenteeism is at 15%. It was at 14% last year, but last year includes the the recovery points, and this year does not. So that will be less than 15%. And then Signal Knob, you'll see, the stair steps again. They maintained in math, but stair steps in both English and history, and they had a little bit of a fall in science. And their chronic absenteeism, do you remember their percentage? He told us today. It's less than 16%. I think it was closer to what it was last year, based on their recovery. Any questions about the middle schools? And then here's an example of a high school, and you'll see the 3E readiness, which is where 25 percentage points is not filled out. We do not have that information available to us at this point. But all of the other indicators are filled in. So here is Central High School, and you will notice that they're at 67.06. So the likelihood that they're going to be on track is high. The likelihood that they'll be distinguished is fair. They may be a distinguished school as well, because a 3E readiness, that's one of the ones that's enrollment, employment, and enlistment. That's one that you can earn over your 25 points, because 1.25 points for certain items. Stonewall Jackson, 66.49. And again, the 3E readiness hasn't been populated yet. And one of the places you'll see across the board is our English learner progress. That's an area where we can focus some improvement and earn some real points there. So we will be focusing on that next year, this upcoming year. And then Strasburg High School. And so I pointed out earlier that they do not have 15 English learners at Strasburg High School, so the number is too small. So you see the TS indicated there, but look at their weights. So their weights increased on all of their categories. I'm going to scroll back one. So look at reading performance at 16.7 for both reading and math performance, and at Stonewall Jackson it's at 15 points. So they just reallocated the weights for all of the other categories based on not having English learner progress. And so if their growth is 11 points, they're already at their 3E readiness. If their 3E readiness is at 11 points, they're already on track. So they'll need 21 points, which is likely, and they'll be a distinguished school as well. So, you know, the likelihood that we're going to have some distinguished schools is pretty high at our middle and our high schools.
It seems as if not the emphasis, but just the weight for the English learner progress is so, I mean, the weight's the same, but the numbers are so different probably across the state and even across our division. It could make a big difference in schools. So it seems like it has an outsized impact for what it is.
And then here is the chart with our school information, school by school. And you will notice Strasburg High School, we'll see an attendance chart here in a little bit, but you'll notice Strasburg High School's chronic absenteeism is up a little. But I'm going to scroll back so you can see what impact that has. You know, out of 11.1%, they got 10.07 of those points. So chronic absent. We need kids at school because that's where they learn, in front of the teacher, but it doesn't necessarily have a significant impact on or 5.6, I'm sorry, I was reading from 5.6 to 4.5 points that they earned. It doesn't have as significant an impact as it had previously, because that was the one factor 2 years ago that kept Strasburg from being fully accredited, was chronic absenteeism. Yeah, 2 years ago. So we don't have, I just wanted to bring your attention where we were last year with our rank. We moved from in 21, we moved from 97th to 85th to 74th to 56. I am going to predict we'll maintain 56. Hopefully we'll jump a couple of slots, but I don't think we'll increase 18 points or 18 rank places this year like we did last year. But hopefully we will increase a few. This information will also come out in September or October, so looking forward to that as well. But you can see, where we've been and where we're going.
I have a question. Did we ever, just out of curiosity, looked into why that dip in those years that we fell all the way down to, 1/10, 1/4, 97th? Did we ever go back and look and see why that happened, or?
So we have some theories on why it happened, but not, we're not for sure. It could have been that the focus wasn't necessarily on the standards, that they were doing more of a, I'm trying to think, like project-based learning or something like that, but yeah. And then, just another piece of data, we're looking at our standard diploma versus our advanced diploma. You'll see there was a tad uptick in advanced diploma this year versus standard, and then applied studies diploma is going down a percentage point each year. And again, I have the caveat on each of these that these are unofficial results. They're not official yet, but it's the best information that we have at this time. So here is just a snapshot of Shenandoah County Public Schools. You can see there our local scholarships are $708,625. including the scholarships that our students receive at the college level, was $2.4 million. You can see our advanced and our standard diplomas there. And then what are our kids on the left-hand side? What are our students doing after high school? So about 53% are going to a 2 or 4 year college, 3% are going to the military, 8% are doing some type of technical or other training, and then 36% are going into the workforce. And then some information about our career and technical education. We had 4,590 students enroll in 109 CTE classes. You can see the number of work-based learning experiences our students participated in and the number of credentials our students earned. And this is the first year that we graduated students from 2 of our CTE programs that were added the 23-24 school year, so our HVAC program and our OTPT program. And then for this school year that we just concluded, we added the medical coding and billing, and we're planning for the implementation of 2 CTE programs for the 25-26 year. The aircraft pilot training is going to be at Triplet Tech, and our Future Educators Academy is a partnership with Laurel Ridge Community College, and it will be housed at Laurel Ridge. It'll be a half-day program where those students will actually graduate with an associate's degree at no cost to our students, and then they can enter a 4-year university at 2 more years. And JMU has agreed to offer low or no cost for those students for those 2 additional years tuition. So, and there are other partnerships as well, not just JMU, but that's one of them. So that's a great program that we're able to offer students, and hopefully it'll bring some teachers back to our school division. And then you can see down below there is the number of students who earned an associate's degree. So 39 received a general education certificate, which is about half the courses needed from an associate's degree. And then 18 students earned a pre-ILAD health certificate. And we just heard information today that any dual enrolled class that a student takes in Shenandoah County Public Schools that goes towards an associate's degree or general education certificate will be free for our students for this upcoming school year. So that's very exciting news. Now, some of the classes that we have some ag classes that are dual enrolled, they'll still cost 25% tuition, but those that go towards the associate's degree or general education certificate will be free for our students here in Shenandoah County. So that's really good news for our parents. So positive school culture and climate. So this is our number 2 on our goals. Chronic absenteeism, you will notice across the board, we pretty much have it stair steps down across most of our schools. But again, remember that this information does not include recovery, and last year's information did include recovery. So Ashby Lee Elementary School, I can't see that one number, but I think it's an 11. I think it's 11.5%. That's without recovery. And their 17.5% last year was with recovery. So they really worked hard on making sure that their students were in school. And Sandy Hook Elementary School, another school, 13.4%. And they're at 12% this year, just raw numbers, not including recovery. So North Fork Middle School, I mentioned earlier, I think that says 12.7%, but they said with their recovery attendance that it's likely going to be 5%. So. Average daily attendance, you'll see that has ticked up every single year over the last 4 years, which we're very excited about. We want our kids in school. We want them there learning. So just some other things that we do for positive school climate and culture. We meet with the Student Advisory Committee 4 times a year. That's always a great time to get to know our students, and they give us feedback. 3 of the things that they did This year, they took a field trip to transportation and learned information on propane and diesel buses. They also did a day in the life of a principal or a central office employee, and they had a food service activity their last time that they were here. But some of the other things that we've done is I meet regularly with the Shenandoah County Education Association. Our calendar committee at the end of last year, over the summer, they recommended changes to the 24-25 calendar so that our teachers could have more time to do their VLA, Virginia Literacy Act training. So that was, I think that was a big hit for our teachers because it gave them an opportunity to be in their classroom and do that training that was required from the Virginia Department of Education. And then the calendars for the next 3 years, we also created time so that our teachers would have unencumbered time in their classrooms so that they would have time to work on their lessons for students. To the right, you'll see the Teacher Advisory Committee and the topics that we had there. And then with Mr. Rickard and Ms. Carlenio, we had our personnel meetings and the superintendent's listening tours. Family engagement and community connections. So some of the things that we did, throughout this year, we have an award-winning FFA program. We recognize our Teacher of the Year, our college and career opportunities for our students, and our focus on student learning. We have a video that's on our website that talks about the great place to live and work, Shenandoah County. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, please do. It's very nice. Report to the community. This always is a year behind, but this was our report to the community last summer. We'll have another one coming out in the next couple of months for this summer. Our family connections, family and community connections, our graduation. This was from last year. We'll have this coming up soon for this year's students. We had a education expo at Strasburg High School this year, and we also had a community care fun fair, which was put on by our special ed department. Parent Community Advisory, and then Mental Health Task Force. These are all community connections that we have. Recruit, support, and retain enthusiastic professionals. So staff turnover, you will see the number at the very end is very preliminary, but it looks like our staff turnover is 4 percentage points less this year than last year at this particular time. So we went from 17% to 13%. So exit surveys from last year, we are still gathering that information for this year. The primary reasons teachers left last year was retirement, personal or family considerations, and then one of the things we heard over time and time again was school climate based on student behaviors, mainly related to student behaviors. And just wanted to point out that 20% of our new teachers that we hired for last year previously taught here in Shenandoah County. And I know that we have some teachers that are coming back to us this year as well. So very excited about that. You can see the positives on the right-hand side. Students are #1 priority, family-friendly environment. We have relevant PD opportunities. We're approachable and responsive, and then they really appreciate our contribution for healthcare, and that we've been working on that over the last 4 years, year over year. These are our current vacancies. You will see at most of our schools, there's special ed teachers. And then here is the information on our healthcare insurance. Year over year, we've made great gains on our health insurance. So just from the 24-20, all right, I see a typo. From the 24-25 school year to the 25-26 school year, which is to the right, it says 24-25, but we went from $803 to $655, employee plus children and employee plus family. And I know that one of the other things I heard just recently is that we offer a Key Care 250 plan that's a little more expensive, but that our employees appreciate because they may be paying a little more for the premium, but they understand that their deductible is a little less. Yeah. Adequate facilities and learning environment. So we have been working on this for the last many months, but you'll see here the CIP items that we were able to approve for next, for this upcoming fiscal year. So looking forward to getting these projects done. And just wanted to point out, you'll notice that the parking lot drainage repair at Signal Knob Middle School has 0. Because we are working with VDOT in order to look at that item. So, and then some of the other items. So safety and security is at $60,000. Heating, HVAC was $383. Roofing is $530. Replacing the roof at W.W. Robinson Elementary School. Part of the roof at W.W. Robinson Elementary School. Playground, put another $225,000. In playground equipment, replacing carpet. Now this doesn't include the, that'll be in a future slide, the money that we have asked the Board of Supervisors to reappropriate, which they will vote on tomorrow evening. So total for maintenance was 1.8, almost 1.9 million. And then transportation was $618,000. For a total of $2.5 million for CIP. And then I think it was at the end of May that we approved these additional, to ask for a consideration by the Board of Supervisors for an additional $4.1 million. And these are the projects that are listed there. So over the last number of years, you will see what was requested is in dark blue and what was funded is in light blue. And you will notice fiscal year 23 there was 0 because we were taking the money from fiscal year 22, the 4.2 million, and the CARES funds that we had, and completing all of those projects. So we received quite a bit of CARES funds that we did HVAC work with. Any questions? Thoughts? Do you want to see any of the slides again?
We will be seeing them again.
I guess the only thing I'll say is I think it'll be interesting to see where the rest of the state stacks up as far as the rankings go, because with everyone having to go through a new process, on paper it might look like we didn't do as great as maybe we wanted to, but then you have to think about everybody else. And I know if you look at those rankings, back in the 2008, I think it was 79 or 80% was not even really top 20 or 30, and now if you had that, you'd probably be number 1 by a mile. So, but I know that they have changed over the years and become significantly more difficult than they were in 2008, for example. So, I think we're definitely have to be happy with academically the way that the direction that we're heading in. the growth that we've made and trying to adapt to this new system, which I think in the long run, if they end up keeping it, we'll see. Hopefully there will be no more changes right away, but I think it is better, probably better for the students in the school division, putting a different focus on things than what we had previously. But I know we had to hire some new English learner, or what is English learner teachers this year, and I know we have a high population in some of our schools, and that's somewhere that we're going to need to obviously grow in to be able to get our numbers up there. But overall, I think we have to be pretty happy with where we're heading.
I think that's a really great point. Not only has it been a transition year where a lot of these factors that haven't been measured before are being measured, but remember that 3 years ago, we did kind of a dead stop on consciously expanding optimistically what was happening. You know, for an example, you know, starting failing or grades at 50% and then realizing, no, 0 is where you start, not 50%. And so there was this, I'll just use the word euphemistic, feel-good concept that was consciously being sold to us by the previous administration. So those two things together, I think we were even warned at the beginning of the year that they're trying to, I'm going to use Tom's analogy of, you know, the admiral trying to turn that aircraft carrier around isn't just as easy as spinning the wheel. And so the fact that we're trying to be realistic about the measurement of these things and then be more in depth about what we're measuring, both were pretty ambitious goals. So I think Kyle's onto something. I appreciate that point of view. Anybody else have any comments before we do move on?
The last thing I will say is that our school administrators and our teachers have really risen to the challenge, because having both math and English standards, new standards in both English and math, was a challenge. But they've done a remarkable job, and I know we'll just get even better next year.
All right, thank you. Dr. Shepard, do you want to take us through the concept of the School Infrastructure Planning Committee?
I did. At the May 27th special called school board meeting, the board discussed establishing a school infrastructure planning committee. The proposed committee would include 2 school board members, 2 representatives from the Board of Supervisors, as well as the county administrator and myself, to talk about major capital projects in the school division. So the entire focus of this committee would be school division major renovation or new construction projects. So at the meeting, we decided that the school board decided that this evening we would discuss it, and that there would be 2 members from the school board that would be appointed to take this position. And the Board of Supervisors are also going to appoint 2 members at a Board of Supervisors meeting coming up soon. So.
Okay, so one of our action items tonight will be to appoint the members for that School Infrastructure Planning Committee. So I'm recommending that we wait until that point to discuss those who want to serve and the appointment of people to those 2 positions. So unless anybody wants to discuss any of it now, but I think that we'd be better off to discuss it under our action item agenda. Dr. Heingardner is going to give us some update on the policy update. So.
Yeah, in front of you, or at least electronically there, I think you have paper copies from the last meeting. You have those policies which will be on the July 10th meeting for seeking your action. And the first group were those that were reviewed. The second group were those that were revised. One policy that I just wanted to point your attention to so that you don't forget about is JECB. JECB.
What number is that on your chart?
It is number 6 on the chart. And that policy is admission of non-public school students for part-time enrollment. That policy, our current policy, addresses students taking classes at Triplet Tech. So if you desire, if that's the way you want it to remain, then I would encourage you to, you know, in your motion or how you would want to do it when you go to vote on these or make a motion, that you exclude JECB and keep our current policy. Now, of course, if you want to change that, then you wouldn't. But it's just an important distinction, because that policy was pretty significantly changed previously to just include Triplet Tech students.
So we saw the list last meeting. The policy committee perused it at a meeting of the committee, and I want to thank Dr. Heingartner for pointing out policy JECB, which did seem the one that would probably cause the most change.
Mm-hmm.
And so since we're voting on these next time, I would specifically recommend that board members take a look. Dave has done it in such a way so that the line in and the line out are very clear as to how it would change. So you can just look at the one document and get a pretty good idea, or not a pretty good idea, you get the idea of what indeed would change. So we may want to discuss that as a board in July before we take action on accepting this package. Did anybody else have any questions for Dr. Heingartner on this policy package? Is that all you wanted to cover there? Thank you, appreciate it. Okay. And then agenda item number 3.4 is a request to increase the fiscal year 2026 special budget. And this has to do with the aviation program.
Yes.
So Kayleen, if you would make us smart about that, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So you all are very aware of the pilot program we are planning to launch next fall at Triplet Tech. Our generous donor has pre-funded us a check for $150,000 to start purchasing the equipment for that program. Unfortunately, I am beyond the point of no return to spend money this year. So we are deferring the revenue for next year and asking that you increase our special budget appropriation at the next meeting so that we can go ahead and get that equipment ordered and be ready for opening day in the fall.
With the understanding that this is not changing the bottom line on our budget. So that's, okay, got it.
The money's already in hand.
Got it. Thank you. So that will indeed be another action item for our July meeting. All right, we're going to head into the action items now. So we have the personnel list as has been presented to us previously. Do I hear a motion that we accept that personnel list as it has been presented?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall.
Nobody else wants to make motions.
You do a good job.
Yeah.
A second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. All those in favor of accepting the personnel list that was presented earlier this evening, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, second item is the selection of the two school board members who would act with two board of supervisor members to be selected by that board, as well as the county administrator and our own superintendent. So this six-person group will be taking up major capital projects and beginning with ones that were pretty hot topics just the last few weeks. Mr. Rickard indicated at the last meeting his desire to add or to participate and be part of this committee, and he sent us a pretty complete resume of things that makes him qualified to do this, and he clearly would like to be considered for that position. He is currently a member of the building committee, which would make sense for him to do this as well. Perhaps Tom might be the other one to do that, but the schedule so forth, I think, is, don't shake your head yet, Tom, would preclude him from doing that. But Mr. Gudshaw got in touch with me and indicates that, a matter of fact, I'll turn it over to him in just a minute, that he would be anxious to serve on this committee as well. And if there's no objection, I'll just ask Kyle if he would like to give us a little background on that.
Yeah, so I'm happy to do it for the next 6 months. You know, I think moving forward into the future, it might be helpful for me to be associated with this in some way. I think Mike will do a good job with his experience, and I think I would have a good working relationship with him, and I think we would do well with the Board of Supervisors and Dr. Shepard and Mr. Vance. So, or Bass, excuse me. Sorry, add you too, Mr. Evan Bass. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity to work with those other folks, and just my perspective of being a little bit different. You know, I'm come from a different background than Mr. Rickard and some of the others. He's got more of a hands-on perspective, a technical perspective, and mine's a little bit different, more in the management, finance side of things. So I think having a couple of different viewpoints on that would be helpful, and just would be happy to do it for the next few months.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just, and I know you are qualified for this, I thought when we were talking about this committee, since it is going to start next year, you know, this coming fall, that it would have made more sense to have somebody who's going to be there throughout also the budget season. So that's why I thought maybe Tom was going to be the other person taking care of that, along with Mike, because that way we would have the continuity as we continue into our next budget season. So that would be my only concern, that I thought when we kind of originally talked about this, that was one of the things that we were thinking about, was in terms of how continuity going into the budget, so that only, you know, the members that are going to be staying on, one of us should be the one taking care of that, because then what we're going to do back in January, we're going to have to vote again and then have a new person take over. I mean, I guess we can do that. To me, it would have made more sense to have somebody who's already on the board and who's going to continue being on the board through next year. But in the end, that's just my thought on that.
This was something that I thought about when Kyle talked to me. But I do think that there are some, first of all, I'm not sure how many bottom line decisions we'll be able to make in the next 6 months, but I do know that we need to set up, the committee needs to set up a good working relationship with the board. It has to have its own standard operating procedures, come up with its own way of operation, when they're going to have meetings and so forth. So I think this could easily be handed off, and the Board of Supervisors is going to have the same problem as well. They're going to, after 6 months. I mean, I would much rather get somebody in the saddle now and start it, get it organized, and help transition rather than either wait 6 months or put somebody on there who wouldn't be able to have the geographic differences and the different skill levels that the two members that have been mentioned would have. So I understand what you're saying. I don't think we're going to take that much of a hit of transitioning to somebody else as we go along, especially since the meetings, I think, will be fairly regular and will be reported back to this body. So, but is there somebody else who wants to throw their hat in the ring?
Well, just to comment on that topic, I've always been under the assumption this is just representing the two individuals on each board. They're just representing their boards.
Yes.
The liaison, they're not really.
It's not a decision-making
No.
body with any authority.
No, they're just
Would be doing some
representing.
negotiations, right? I mean,
Yeah, but I was
they're-
under the understanding they're representing their board, like the communication factor, right?
Sure.
I mean, if someone else, I'm not going to sit here and beg, so if someone else wants to take it on, then that's completely fine. I'm not going to sit here and fight for it, so, that's up to you all, but.
Well, I'm just saying, just because that was kind of like when it was presented to me, that was kind of like the idea was to have somebody already, our committee that is going to have a working relationship with the board of supervisors going into the next year. So if we're doing this already, we're kind of not doing that. So that was just my thought on that, just based on what I had spoken about before. And I understand that it's only representing the board, but we kind of need somebody to be advocating. I mean, the way I see it is going to be somebody who's going to be sitting there with the board of supervisors and actually advocating for the positions from our board here, which is not the same as just presenting something, but actually, having a back and forth and saying what it is that we need and why do we need it. In terms of, we just saw the problem that we had this last year. I mean, we are in desperate need of having some work done with our elementaries and most likely actually build a new elementary school. And I think it would have probably behooves us to have somebody who was able to actually advocate for that with the board of supervisors and let them know, this is why we really need this. So that's just my thought of this. I guess I saw this as a different kind of committee. I thought it was going to have a little bit more substance to that. But if you're saying that it's just somebody who's just going to sit there and...
Well, I think that's kind of downplaying it. And not somebody who's going to sit there. I think the idea is to have, again, not just two advocates for elementary schools, let's say, but somebody who has an advocate or has a position on elementary schools and career technical education, and somebody who's from one district and another district, and somebody who's got educational background, and somebody who's got practical background. So I think we're picking two members of our school board who are not lockstep with one another, but who will be actually good to be a sounding board for both points of view. So,
But basically, you just confirm what I just said, because you're saying that it's somebody who's going to be advocating for that.
no, you're the one who talked about advocating for
No,
elementary
I know,
schools.
you just said that.
I'm saying that if we have somebody looking at both of those, that's probably a good balanced way to go about it.
No, I know, but I don't mean that it's going to be somebody advocating for a new school. I'm just saying it's going to be somebody advocating for our school system. And what I'm saying is, you just admitted that that's what it's
No,
going
I
to
didn't
be.
admit anything. I'm saying I think that both of those would be working for our school system. So,
Okay, so can we then get an idea what exactly is this then? And how often are they going to meet, and what exactly is this committee going to do?
sure. So this is an advisory group that is going to meet, we said, when we had the special call meeting when we had the meeting with the, I guess it was special called meeting with the Board of Supervisors, that the idea was that going into the future for capital improvement, that we needed time to plan for large cost items. They're going to take a while for loan structures to be considered, to consider the various costs of any of these large purchases and what it's going to take to do it and what the feelings are of the two boards. So it will indeed be the function of our school board members to get to give to the Board of Supervisors an idea of the long-term projects that our school board is interested in funding, and to get an idea back from the Board of Supervisors, what it is that they are interested in funding over the long term, and to understand what those projects are. I think we actually articulated at that meeting with the two chairs and the two vice chairs, that there had not been a great deal of communication and coordination on long-term financial arrangements, and that this would give us the ability to talk about those things and plan ahead. So how often they meet, I hope they meet regularly. Nobody said how often it would be, quarterly, monthly, I'm not sure. But I think it would be up to that particular group to decide how often they want to meet, and then get the reports back from each of the, in our case, the school board, from our representative, or representatives from of the committee, and same for the Board of Supervisors. Simple as that.
So, this is so simple, and we're not gonna, that person is not gonna be advocating, and they're simply gonna be presenting the views of the board. How are they gonna know what those views of the board are? Are we gonna be meeting as a board and deciding these are the points that you're gonna be discussing with the board supervisors, or are they on their own gonna be coming up with those issues?
Well, I think it's going to be on their own. They're not, I don't foresee them to come back and have us, the board, kind of mark their paper about what they turn in or what they talk about. But by picking two individuals on the board who are up to speed with these things, they will be able to talk with knowledge about how much it will cost and what the loan structures would be and what the payoff would be. So I don't think they owe, what they owe the school board, I think is an honest view as to what happened in the meetings. And I think that like any of the committees we have, I think that committee would be well advised to listen to other members of our board about what they would have presented. So if Tom does have an idea for something, he's not precluded from going to the committee and say, hey, I'd like to see such and such, nor would you. So you can use that committee as a sounding board yourself, just as I expect members on the Board of Supervisors will be talking to their two members.
So we're gonna be able to have meetings, because like, for example, last week there was a meeting that some members of this board were attending that I wanted to attend, and I was precluded from doing that because there were already two members in that meeting. So would that mean that we would be having
No,
official
what you're
meetings,
referring
or-
to is a meeting called by community members on a specific topic
No,
that had
it-
nothing to do with the
No,
committee.
no, it does have to do with this,
I'm
actually.
sorry, it
Because
does not.
No, it does, it was with our attorney, so let's just leave it at that. I'm just saying, moving forward with this, so are we gonna be able to have then specially called meetings so that then other members of the board would be able to attend those meetings as well?
I'm sure that the committee, like all of our other committees, will schedule meetings, and it would be perfectly fine for any one of us to attend.
Okay.
Because this is a committee that's appointed by both boards, it will be open to the public, and there will be minutes taken
Okay.
at that meeting.
And other
So,
board members can attend?
other board members would be
Yeah.
able to
Okay.
attend. So, yes, it would be, because it's appointed,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It'd be the same as our other committee meetings. Any one of us can attend any of the other committee meetings. So I'd like to have a motion from someone to appoint two people to the School Infrastructure Planning Committee. Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Mike Rickard and Kyle Gutshaw to the School Infrastructure Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vance. Discussion?
I like the diversity that you referenced with Mike's background and Kyle's. And I understand completely, as Carlinio, that there's an election that may change the personnel, but that's also true on the other side too, depending on who the Board of Supervisors sends, so. And I also like your idea of having some time for input from the board. So
Thank you.
I think it's good balance, Mr. Gutshaw and Mr. Rickard.
Any other discussion? Right, since we had a motion and a second, and we had discussion. I don't know if we don't do a roll call vote? All right, Cheryl, go for it.
Mr. Street?
Yes.
Ms. Carlinia?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes. So the record would indicate 5-0 vote. And that brings an end to our action items. And we will now consider moving into our second and hopefully final closed meeting session tonight. Do I have a motion for us to convene a second aspect of our closed meeting? Sorry?
Dr. Shepherd needs to do the recommendation first.
To meet in the closed session? Okay. Dr. Shepherd, I jumped again.
I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County School Board Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, and performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Street, thank you for that. All in favor of convening in closed session, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will meet in closed session. All right, it is 8:50, and we are reconvening in open session. Do I have a motion to do that?
Move to reconvene in open session.
Mr. Goodshaw, thank you. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vance. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? I'm going to read the statement one more time, that the Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certify" when called. Cheryl?
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlinio,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Vance,
I so certify.
Mr. Barber.
I so certify. Are there any board member comments?
I'd like for the minutes to reflect that I was prepared to wish a lot of people a happy retirement, and everybody's gone. The only one who was here this evening was Dr. Heingardner, and for some of the people retiring, I've worked with them, I've worked for them. It was always the same goal, to promote high-quality public education in Shenandoah County. I was going to remind them, as Dr. Shepard has already said, that the applications for substitute teaching are available at the door on their way out, but they're not here to pick them up. They must have known I was going to suggest that. And the other thing I was going to say is that even in retirement, they will still be able once a week to shout TGIF, only it'll take on a new meaning. Thank goodness I'm free. So I wish them all well.
Thank you for that. Others?
I'll just say congrats to Central Softball. Been waiting a long time, since 2002, the last state championship. And we'll have to get the sign updated across town. It's been a long time coming to get that updated.
See to it.
Try.
It's all about pitching.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
You're right.
I have nothing further, so we will, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Cutchall, thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 8, tell me what it is.
53.
53, he says. Okay, 8:53.